All right, we're going to do a little something in a minute or so, and we've got one of our members lined up to do a demonstration for us. And this is a sample of some of the work he has done. He will show you this, and this is some really great work. I mean, take a look at the quality of this stuff. This is what you came here for, to learn how to do it simply. He's going to show you, and it's not an expensive CNC machine that did that. It is an expensive wood turner called Matt Harber, and he did it for us. He's going to show you how to do it too. Matt, are you ready, sir?
I am.
All right, let's rock and roll, buddy.
Alrighty then. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Matt Harber. I'm not there yet. Should I highlight myself?
I got you now.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, there you go.
Thank you. The piece that I did is only about 8 inches in diameter that y'all were seeing. I use the background on it is a paint product called gesso. Okay, Gesso. What it is a thick acrylic paint, and it's used sort of like a base. All right, and I put it on with the standard, little Harbor Freight foam brush. The first, let me switch over to this other camera here. The first thing I did these this afternoon. I did a couple of these this afternoon. All right. Let's look at this one here. So this is the piece here I have on the lathe. It's walnut, and what it is let me see here if this works. There we go. So I've basically flattened this side of it and shaped the back, and I have painted it with gesso. The gesso goes on pretty thick. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to sand it, because it's still, and I'm going to sand it lightly, and I'm going to sand it with 220 grit, 220. The reason why I'm doing that is I can still see the brush strokes on here. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to sand this lightly. Just very, very lightly. Does that to your sandpaper, just so you know. So I've taken some of the paint off, so sometimes I might have to go back and repaint it, but I'm not going to do that tonight for the demo. Okay, now I'm going to where'd my piece go? There it is. So at some point, what I'm going to do with this piece is I am going to, after I've done the airbrushing, I am going to use a thin parting tool to cut this groove and this groove. And I am going, after I've done the painting, I am also going to hollow this part here. This is a little deeper. This piece here is a little deeper than this little plate I made. So I can go a little deeper. But I'll show what that looks like also. So I wanted to try some different colors tonight. So when you spray in, all right, let me do some tips and tricks first. And I'll show this in the.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Several people are saying they can't hear you. Your volume's too low.
I may have to change my batteries. Is this any better?
Yes.
Okay, I just moved the mic over a little closer. If it starts getting low, please ask. I'll go change batteries. Okay, I'm going to try a couple different paints here tonight. I don't think I'm going to use the blue. What I'm going to try is I'm going to use a white opaque. This is Createx airbrush colors, and that is, I'm going to cut here and go here and say this is my my list here is I've got an airbrush kit list on here. I'm using the airbrush I'm using on here, and the bottom point is I'm using Createx transparent and opaque airbrush paints and Chestnut Spirit stain. So I'm just going to use two colors tonight to show this, and I'll come back to this list later, okay? I'm going to use two different kinds. I'm going to use this white. It's an opaque airbrush paint. Usually I use transparent, but I'm going to use this opaque a little bit because I want white and then I want to spray blue on it. So the Createx and most airbrush paints are acrylic based. So they're acrylic. So they're water based. So their cleanup is water. And I'm also going to spray this light blue chestnut spirit stain. This is an alcohol based stain. And it is, because it's alcohol based, your cleanup on this is denatured alcohol. So we'll see how it all comes out, because I haven't done this with these colors before, and we'll see how it works. So trick number one, I have the airbrush kit I got comes with this little holder. All right. On the bottom of it, I put magnetic strips. It sticks to my lathe. Okay. I do a lot of spraying on the lathe. It's great to have the magnetic strips on the bottom. Your airbrush sits in the little holder like that. Okay. The kit that I've listed on my little list here, and I'll go back to it later, is a little bit less, around $100, and it includes an airbrush, the hose, and the little compressor for it. So pretty much everything you need to get started. Trick number two is, where did I put that? Oh, it's over here. You need something to spray paints into. If you're cleaning out your airbrush a lot, and you should, you need something to spray the airbrush into. So I took a gallon milk jug and I cut a hole out of it. This is what I spray everything into. This is what I throw any pieces of paper towel into. It ends up looking like this, but at the end, you could, when you're done and you've cleaned your airbrush out, you can just throw empty this out into the trash. Okay. Any questions so far? No. Okay.
Not with me. I think we're okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my tool rest around here, because what I want to do is I want to mark out where my bowl's going to be, so that I have a general idea of where I'm going to be spraying. So I'm going to probably put one of those rims, one of those rim lines here, and one of those rim lines here. So my bowl probably going to be right here. Now, what I'm using to do this with is a watercolor pencil. Okay, and a watercolor pencil wipes right off with. So I'll put my bowl in right there. Okay, so what that tells me is where I can spray to. Now, where I'm going to spray is I'm going to spray in this direction, and I'm going to get my tool rest out of the way and cover my lathe bed before I do that, so I don't paint my lathe bed, because that's bad. So let me move some things.
Matt, a little while ago, you showed us that camera mount. Well, I put the details for it. RAM mount, R-A-M-M-O-U-N-T, makes the bracket. There's probably 40 different versions, magnetic, suction base, handlebar base, and all that. The information is in our chat.
Sounds great. Thank you. So I buy these rolls. What it is a roll of white paper, and you buy them at any hobby store or any place that sells art supplies, and they're not very expensive, and you can do things like use that brown paper that the painters use to cover things up with too. I use it for everything. If y'all were paying attention to Campbell's Hands-On Retreat, I covered the tables with it for my airbrush class there. All right, so when you're spraying an airbrush, there's a lot to learn about airbrushing, and I'm by no means an expert at this, but I've learned some things that I can do. And one of those things is that if I spray straight on, if I'm going straight on, I'm spraying a cone of paint. So if I'm close, it's almost a dot. If I'm far away, it's a much wider circle, but it's fainter. Okay. So let me shake my stuff up here. Put a couple of drops in here. So This airbrush is a two-step airbrush, and I don't remember if that's exactly the right term for it, but one step is I push down and I get air coming out. Then I push back on the little lever and paint comes out. The further back I pull back, the more paint comes out. So if I spray like that, I get a dot. If I angle it, I get a cone. And the stuff out here is lighter than the stuff closer to the airbrush. So what I want to do with this is I want to get this that are going outward from my line that I drew, and I'm going to paint blue over top of that. So I'm going to start spraying, and I'm going to start turning this piece while I'm spraying it. I may have to put more paint in, but I want it pretty white near my little circle there where my bowl is going to be cut in, but I want it to fade out as I got to the edge. So that's why I'm spraying at this angle like this. Ooh, what was that? The white doesn't behave as well as I would like. The other paints work a lot better. So I hope you guys can hear me over the compressor. It doesn't make a lot of noise. It's pretty quiet.
We got you.
Alrighty.
Now you can do this with one of those small Harbor Freight compressors, because what are you looking for, 25, 30 pounds most?
Yeah, it's 25 PSI at most. You can, if you have a regulator, you can do it with your shop air compressor, but that's a lot of overkill. And frankly, I can take this little compressor anywhere. And those Harbor Freight airbrushes, they work pretty good.
Now I got to mention, if you use your shop system, watch for water. A little bit of water right now screw this whole thing up.
Yep. All right. So that's where I'm at with this right now. Okay. And now what I'm going to do, because I know how this white is a little heavier, I'm going to clean it. So I'm going to dump my paint. I'm going to grab some water wherever that is, because this is the acrylic, and I'm going to get this cleaned out. So, and this is what I use my little milk jug here for, is I pour a little water in there, dump it out, spray it through. And this is an important thing to do, is to learn how to clean your airbrush and to clean your airbrush, because I had a little incident here. As many of you know, I was at Campbell's Hands-On Retreat, and one of the classes I taught was an airbrush class. Well, I didn't clean my airbrush as thoroughly as I should have. So when I was getting set up to do the class earlier today, I went to make sure that the water, I just used water to see if it would spray through, and it didn't spray through very well. So that was a problem. I had to more thoroughly clean my airbrush. So this opaque white is thicker than the normal transparent stuff and the stains, so it's harder to get clean. So this may take a bit. You know what? While I'm doing this, let me switch over to.
And we have to mention that if they get dirty, they are a pain to break down and clean up.
Yeah. So this is my my little note section here. I've got a link for an inexpensive kit on TCP Global if you're interested. There's what I said before about cleaning your airbrush earlier is right here. Those Harbor Freight airbrushes, they work pretty darn good. So I do have a set of those, and I have used them. There are other kinds. This is a gravity feed airbrush, which means that the paint sits in the cup and falls down via gravity into the airstream. There are what they call, I think they call siphon feed, that have little cups and spigots and so on. And one of the benefits of those is the little cups are detachable. I think the Harbor Freight ones are that way. And what you can do with that is you can then put a cap on them and travel with them. So if you're doing a lot of demos and you're doing a lot of airbrushing and stop, like if you're doing it a bunch of times during the day and then you want to stop and pick up in a day or two, being able to put a cap on your paints and stuff is a really useful thing. So let's see what else I have on here.
We've got a lot of folks posting notes on our chat about places that you can get airbrushes and airbrush kits and keep the cost down. Do not get scared when you go into a paint shop and ask to see an airbrush and they throw a $300 or $400 item in front of you. Do not get scared.
Yeah, there's like the kit that I have has been working for me for years, like decades, or almost not really a decade, but at least 8 years. And I paid like $95 for it from TCP Global. So it's, you know, the kit they have there is a little different now, but let's see here. All right, so this is where I am now, and I'm done with the white. And I'm going to now spray some blue. Now the blue I have is spirit stained. So while the other stuff was airbrush colors and alcohol based, this is chestnut spirit stain. I'm sorry, the other stuff I was using was water based. This is alcohol based. This is chestnut spirit stain. It's alcohol based. So I'm not going to clean this up with water. I'm going to clean it up with denatured alcohol when I get there. And I've got to make sure that this spray's clean before I start spraying on my piece here. So I'll put a little bit in here.
And because our safety director is not with us tonight, folks, some breathing protection is necessary. Matt is doing that for tonight. You can't talk with a mask on, which you shouldn't be doing if you're painting, but please take care of your lungs.
Right. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try.
Oh, we lost your audio again, sir.
You know what? Hang on. I'm going to switch batteries on this. Can you hear me, Eddie?
We got you, Dane. Matt. I don't do names.
I'm gonna go away for a second while I switch batteries.
Okay, folks, you're tuned in to Worldwide Wood Turners. This is your wood turning club. We're watching Matt Harber give us a demonstration right now, a little airbrushing on a platter. We'll have photographs of this and clips of this video on our website, worldwidewoodturners.org. And remember, this is your wood turning club. Okay, we don't pay Matt. Matt is here as a volunteer to help teach wood turning and share his ideas. Now we're better, Matt.
All right. So I only put a few drops in here, so I'm gonna put some more because I'm running out of juice. Any questions I can answer for anybody while I'm doing this?
Are you restricted on the type of material you can spray?
I do not. I mean, you don't want to spray like straight up acrylic paints because the pigments are too thick to do it well. You'll clog up your airbrush. Okay. So I have experimented with making my own paints and pigments from those, but I got to dilute them and it's still problematic because the pigments are just not fine enough on like I don't know, Michael's stencil paints, you know what I'm saying? Or basic Walmart acrylic paints are just not suited for airbrush spraying. But I comfortably spray these airbrush paints from Createx. I understand that Golden makes some nice ones. Whoops. And I understand that and these chestnut spirit stains spray really well right out of the bottle also.
Matt, this is Sue in Florida.
Yeah.
Do you always use black gesso, or do
nope?
you
I've got white gesso also.
Okay.
So I mean, it all depends on how you want to do it. And I've done things like I've used, you know, that Zinserbin stuff, which is a primer. Basically, it's white. I've done airbrush work on that. I've done airbrush work straight on the wood after I've sealed it with chestnut spirit stain and so on. So there's a lot of things you can do, a lot of things that you can use as a background. You don't have to use a background. You know, there's a lot of choices, I guess is what I'm saying. Now, what I've sprayed here, I've actively worked to make to do this as a very light coats. So this is all dry now, okay? And I have never sprayed the alcohol-based stuff on top of acrylic paint before, so I'm delighted that it looks like it's worked fine. So thank you for serving as my guinea pigs. And I need this. And because I did alcohol-based, I'm going to use denatured alcohol to clean this out now. Okay, now I'm effectively, because I've created a little pattern here, and I have not really shown a whole lot with airbrushing here. I've just shown an easy way to add some color.
Hey, Matt, while you're talking about color, that little gal from Florida chipped in just now. She says you can buy cheap ink pens from the dollar store, mix the ink with denatured alcohol, and use that in the airbrush, and you get a ton of color variations.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do. There are some. I've seen some interesting, and I don't know what they're called, but there is some sort of thing that sort of comes like a pen. Somebody will know what that is, and you can actually use it. You add you know, an alcohol ink to it, and you can spray that. As it comes with a little sort of airbrush thing. It starts off as a pen and becomes an airbrush. I don't even know what that's called, but I've seen it. So there's a lot of different ways you can do things.
Get creative. That's all we're asking, folks. Get creative.
Yep. Now I mean, if you look on my Facebook page, I do a lot of different things with airbrushing. I have had a class with Nick Agar, who I strongly recommend taking a class from if you get a chance. He's one of the guys who I consider a mentor and a teacher, and he has greatly inspired me on my airbrush work. I use stencils. I make leaf plates, if y'all have seen those. Those are done with stencils in airbrushing. People will say that stencils are cheating. I say, so what?
Yeah, who found out? Who thinks there's rules here?
That's right. That's right. You're only limited by your own imagination. So, and I'm not using gloves here tonight, but I strongly recommend y'all use gloves because I'm getting this stuff all over me.
There's a painter that paints strictly just with her fingers,
Yep.
oil paints, and it's amazing. So I think as long as you're willing to just try it and experiment, obviously being safe, because, you know, your skin is the largest organ on your body and you don't want to put too much toxic on it all the time, but just, you know, experiment, try it out. The worst thing that happens is you find out what not to do, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and don't do it on a beautiful turning piece. Do it on an experimental piece.
Do it on a piece of paper. Do it on a, you know.
Yeah, this is our goal for tonight, right here, or similar. This is what Matt turned for a project last week, and it is gorgeous. And we're explaining more of how to do this type of work. And we got plenty of time to get it done, and we got plenty of time for you to be involved in your wood turning club. Somebody told me the other day we use that phrase too often. Not really.
All right.
So,
you ready for the next step, Eddie?
I'm ready.
All right. This is a very thin curve parting tool. I think I got this at Rockler years ago. You can get them in a bunch of different places. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn away some of this stuff. All right, and I now want to take a bowl gouge and turn away this stuff in the middle.
This is an Irish grind bowl gouge.
Yes, it is. It's a small one, though.
My favorite's 3/8. And don't ask me what to measure them from and if you should measure them. Find a size you're happy with. And that's the beauty of the swat. You can play with them and find out the one you want. Why just pass?
Anyway, I'm not gonna turn the whole bowl. Oh, one thing I should have said is that before you start turning, hit this with lacquer. Hit this with a couple coats of lacquer to protect the paint. The paint can get abraded by the chips you're making.
So that means the base is complete if you spray with
Now-
lacquer.
Yeah, but you can still carve it. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The coloring of the base is complete.
Yep. And you can, you can cut back lacquer. Let's say you're spraying, satin lacquer or whatever. You can come back and add more color on top of that. So, and there are some people who do that. It really adds a lot of depth to their turnings when they do that. Don Derry comes to mind. Some other people. And then what you do then, and let me see if I'm a little less prepared for this than the rest of the stuff, but what you can then do, and
Matt was a little busy last week. He was at the symposium up in Michigan and teaching, and we got him to commit to this, and we're looking at you to commit too if you'd like to do a demo for us. This is it. And remember, you can shoot your own demo on an iPhone. We have some details on how to get that rigged up and what you can do with it in this month's newsletter.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a diamond bit to carve this with. Okay. And I'm going to use, I've got this set that I bought probably from Amazon or maybe from Harbor Freight. I'm not sure. And I'm going to use a little sphere bit. I don't know if y'all can see that. And usually I would lay out a design and I would trace it with the watercolor pencil, but I'm just going to show you how that works here. I'm going to freehand it. Okay. So you can start carving designs, and let me see if you can't really see that very well, can you? Let me see if I can zoom in on that. Let's see, that's this one here. Nope, that's not that one. It's this one. So all I'm doing is carving the paint away. Okay, and that's literally how I did this other piece. Is I carved the paint away. Okay. The only difference was I was using red and yellow here, and here I use blue and white. I was using a light color wood. Here I'm using walnut. That's the only difference. And that's how you create all those designs. And it looks cooler if you're more consistent and you lay it out. I made a little paper template. I made a little paper template for this one using a French curve. And I just basically laid it out one after the other around the rim, and then I carved it out exactly the same way I did this.
I'm going to tell you how to cheat on that. If you have a laser printer at home for your computer, you can probably find those designs like I did, Celtic knot designs, et cetera, on Google. Put in Google Sketches and know what you're looking for, and then you print that just by itself to the size you want, which is available on your printer. And there you go. You can take a pen. I say pen. I take a prickly pen and just go through it. Not deep, just enough to give me an idea to go back with my pencil and color it in. I have to have a bold line. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. So I have to have a bold line to follow this thing. But that's another way to cheat. I want to steal your fire, bub, but
Hey, cheat all you can. The better, the easier you make it for yourself, the more consistent you make it for yourself, the happier you'll be. So, and the better your result will be. So, I hope that answers questions. If y'all have questions, I'm happy to answer them.